Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. So a development in the story that nobody wants to be discussing today, a revolving Manchester United footballer Mason Greenwood, who the club have now officially announced that he will not be taking part in training or games in the immediate future. And I would say as a statement as well that if you want a prediction, I think it's game over for Mason Greenwood. I have this feeling that it is game over. Look, a lot of people, there's a lot to get into. I mean, the victim's father's spoken to the press, which as an ex-police officer is a bloody nightmare when they're doing stuff like that. And, I know a lot of people have started going in on the father, and the reality is, I think if it was some of your daughters on social media, your reaction would be very different. But you don't walk those paths, you're not wearing those shoes. And I think judging people who are not the alleged offenders in this, I think, trial by media is exactly why I said this morning that, in the UK, it is innocent till proven guilty. And some people want to take my clips and turn it into something. Listen to the whole video this morning. There's a victim in this case, and there's many more victims. And one of the positives from today, if there can be any positives, is that universal condemnation and calling out of this despicable domestic violence story. That, whatever happens with this today will encourage more victims to come forward. I worked in a job where unfortunately I had to deal with these cases, and one of the big problems you have is that the cases don't get reported because people are lost in a cycle of abuse where it very rarely is a one-off. It's been going on for years. It's physical abuse, it's financial abuse, it's mental abuse, and the people feel lost and there's not a way out. And I think some of the victims today, reading what you lot have been saying and on social media and around, will encourage people that they're not alone. So look, that to me is a positive, that there's this universal, across fans and everything, that this is not acceptable. As a story, it's not acceptable. Domestic violence is not acceptable. But going back to what I was saying there about, we're exactly in the process where I thought this would go this morning, is that, the police are now involved. The worst scenario would have been that the pictures and the audio clip was out there and nothing happened. The police are involved. It goes into the police. Manchester United have had their say. And patience. I think some people want justice today. Well, that's not the world. This is why I said this morning, innocent until proven guilty, because we're going to have to go through a process. There are other footballers, ex-footballers, current footballers over the years and currently who go through this situation. This will take time. So if you're bubbling up inside, you're going to have to be patient and wait, because this is a process. And until you are found guilty in court, that's the process that's going to go through. And I think, everybody wants an answer now, don't they? And you're not going to get it. Primarily the most important thing, is that the police are involved now, and that victim can get the care and support they need. Some people, and I'll just give you a little bit of a police background here, as well, as I'm sure many people will know this anyway, but some people won't. What does this mean? Because people will be like, well, what does this mean? What does this mean? And I think the hardest thing is that nobody wants this situation. Nobody wants this situation. But I don't like hearing the whole, look, it doesn't matter whether it's an MP, a footballer, somebody who works in McDonald's. It's unacceptable. Nobody should be above the law, and everybody should be treated equally. And the outcome has to be the right outcome. And a few people have said, well, what if money gets involved in this, that and the other? And I'm like, there's such a thing in UK law, and has been for a long time, which is victimless prosecution around domestic abuse. So even if the victim in a case of domestic abuse says, I don't want to do it anymore, I love them, or whatever, that happens a lot. But if the evidence is strong, it will still go to court. So I think people who are thinking, oh, this will get swept under the carpet, this, that and the other. Well, look, never say never in life. Nothing ever surprises anybody, does it? But if you want a prediction, I think this is game over for Mason Greenwood at Manchester United. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to come back from this, unless there is some sort of story that we're not aware of. But all we can deal with is the facts that we have, or the information that we have, because information isn't always facts. But the club have suspended him. I don't expect him to play for Manchester United. There is a person in custody. If that person in custody is Mason Greenwood, with the evidence that they've got, he could be in custody for 24 hours. They could extend that to question more. They could charge that person. They could bail that person. Now, if you're bailed, that gives the police time to do further investigation, and that person is on bail without charge. That means they've not been charged with the offence and the investigation is ongoing. So innocent till proven guilty. In the law, I'm talking about the law here. If that person is charged on the evidence, that means you're setting a date to go to court where they think they've got the evidence to find you guilty. But obviously until you get to court, that's the case. Now, if this person is charged by the police, then that person could end up in the same position as the Man City player, where they're remanded into custody, where they go to prison whilst awaiting trial. And people think, well, that means you're guilty. It means the police think they've got enough evidence to find you guilty, but it doesn't mean you're guilty, because you're not guilty by the law. But what it means is that you are kept in effective remand in a prison. And the reasons for that could be because, to keep the victim safe and things like that. So, we talk about transfers, and we have got the live show tonight where we're going to try and talk about Manchester United Football Club. But, for all the moaning I've done recently about transfers, I do want to moan about transfers because I want to get us talking about football, because football has to go on. But we ain't going to do any transfer. Manchester United over the next 24 hours, I'll be very surprised if they're thinking about buying a player. They will be rocked by this news, and in the next 24 hours, we'll probably get the news about what is going to happen, whether it's bail, remand. He could be released without charge as well. I'd throw that out there as well. So the next 24 to 48 hours for Manchester United are going to be absolutely massive. I was speaking to somebody this morning who said that the position Manchester United are in, on the face of it, if this goes badly, you lose a player who I described, as a footballer. And look, this means nothing if this person is guilty of what they've done. It doesn't matter. Generational talent. And, it feels like two very dirty words at the moment. Of course it does. But obviously we don't know the full facts of anything at the moment. But he is a fantastic footballer, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at the moment. There is a massive air of uncertainty. And if serious allegations are proven at whatever point in the future, doesn't matter how good you are as a footballer, does it? It really doesn't. But from Manchester United's point of view, they need to be on the same mind track as I think all of you are, and I am, which is that there is a victim here. There is a victim of something that shouldn't happen. And like a good Samaritan, if you saw somebody, whether it's a friend, a stranger, or whatever, this morning on social media in that situation, you would want to help them. And that's how Manchester United need to act. And I think so far, in the absence of any other knowledge, they've acted very, very quickly, and that's where their focus needs to be. The value of this player and whether they're going to play football for Manchester United again or tomorrow in the future is irrelevant. I think if you focus on what's right and you focus on the good decision, that's the path to take at the moment. And I think United today, so far, in the absence of anything else, have made the right decisions. What the backstory is here and everything, I don't know. I saw the comments from the father who, look, I've been in this position professionally where I've interviewed people, and people say odd things when they're in shock, and I don't know why the father's speaking to the press anyway. In a police investigation, you don't really want parents of victims talking to the press about the case, because it just it becomes evidential. So but there was mention of the word hacking, and look, we're talking about we're a football channel here, talking about something that's very serious, that's going to have a big impact on our football club. So no one should feel guilty about talking about this. It's very, the problem is people don't talk about it enough. Like you do need to try and protect and help these people. But the mention of the phone had been hacked and the pictures had been put out without the victims wanting it to be put out. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know why the word hack's being put. I don't know why that was said. The phone was hacked, and the victim didn't want the pictures out there. Well, excuse me, I'm very glad the pictures are out there, because there's a potential victim of something that is absolutely disgusting, and the word hacked and didn't want them out there. You know, I'm a father myself. I'm sure many of you have got sisters, mothers, friends, children of your own, and I would be very happy that those pictures were out there, not because of what's in them, but because that suffering could potentially now stop. You know, to say that the phone's hacked, I mean, is it coincidental that the phone gets hacked on the night that happened, or is this happened a few weeks ago, or is that video? You know, these are questions that will come out in the future, but this is the problem when it's dealt with by people in the media. Trial by media cannot happen. Trial by process is the way to do it in a proper society. And where we were this morning, where a lot of people were going absolutely mad, and I said, look, innocent till proven guilty is a very, you know, important part of UK law, and it's the best way to find, hopefully, the truth, which is you go through the process, which is exactly what's happening now, which is why I wanted to do this video, because, you know, the one I did this morning is already out of date, in the sense that, you know, we're in a different situation now. So look, I still go back to what I said at the end of the video this morning. The thoughts are obviously with the victim in this case and the trauma they'll be going through. And look, you know, this is not really for a football channel, but trust me, I've interviewed people like this. I've, you know, seen this professionally, and these people who get assaulted in domestic violence cases, a lot of them are in love with the person who does it to them, and that's how they have the grip over them. And that's why it tends to be a series of abuse, and that's why they bring in victimless prosecutions, because it's very hard to get these people to give evidence, and it's a long case as well. You've got to give a statement, and you've got to wait months to go to court, and this is somebody they might have been living with or in a relationship or got children with or whatever. I'm talking generally here. Don't try and live in the heads of these victims, because it's a very complex and very scary place for them. That is not just, you know, if someone walks up to you in the street and punches you and you phone the police up and you're like, yeah, I'll go to court. But this is mental abuse, because there tends to be very strong feelings involved as well. So my thoughts are obviously with the victim in the case, and also any other victim of this, because it is a really, really hard thing to have to deal with. And they're a victim in more ways than one, physically, but also it's it tends to be somebody they're in love with doing it to them, and that's another injury for them to deal with. So very serious events, very serious conversations to be talking about, but context is important, and we are in a position now where this is being dealt with by the police in this country, and we'll see what happens in the next few hours. But from a footballing point of view, the allegations have been made, and the player and the club, the club have said that, you know, there will be no training and there'll be no playing, which is absolutely the right thing to do. Whatever the outcome is, it's exactly the right thing to do. The club have to take responsibility there, as any employer would, and I think the next 24 hours are going to be key. And you know, patience is important. I mean, I understand why people are very emotional and very angry. It'd be very easy to do a video and say something very, very different, because trust me, I find it very, very difficult not to say what my emotions are saying. But I also think you know, we've got to be responsible ourselves and just let justice take its course and see what happens, because as we've seen before, you never know. You never know where this is going to go. But if you wanted a prediction, and predictions are no good, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for us to see the Manchester United side that we thought we'd be seeing last week for the next few weeks and months, maybe even years. I don't see a way back from this. But that doesn't mean there won't be, but I don't see a way back from this, because, you know, the weight of feeling against this sort of thing today shows you that if there is any truth in this, there has to be a consequence. There has to be, and yeah, it's not knowing how the legal system works. I think some people think, well, what if the victim in the case says they don't want to do anything about it and they're dropping the charges? But in this country, it won't matter. You've seen the pictures and everything like that. If there is a case, they'll run it without the victim, and it's a very, 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 very sad situation for the victim. And what we think as fans, so what? So what? It doesn't really matter about what we think as fans. It's a sad situation for that person who's been through what appears to be a very traumatic and abusive situation. But the truth will come out, and I would urge patience until that happens. And I'm just happy, if that is even the word. Well, yeah, I suppose it is. I am happy that those pictures did come out, so that victim can get the support that they need. Because listening to what the father said, or reading what the father said, nothing was happening in relation to it, and now something is happening, and that victim is getting the support, and that is something that is a positive. It's not a positive what's happened, but it's a positive that victim is getting the support that they need now. And I hope more people who are in them situations feel empowered to come forward as well. Look, we will be talking about football and stuff more on the evening show, but I just wanted to give an update on where we are. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you in a bit.